Welcome. Let's go ahead and begin. We'll bring awareness to the body. Notice how you're sitting, your position, the effort coming in. And sometimes just a nice deep breath can really help. And when we connect to the body, you might even notice it's like little by little by little. So right away, you might notice kind of a slowing down. A real natural arising of being patient and even a feeling like I've given myself this hour and 15 minutes. So, like this beautiful gift of this time and space. You could even feel the breath like just moving down into your belly. And then as you actually kind of relax your shoulders down and like lift your ears away from your shoulders and you lengthen your neck and just start to drop the head like a little bit side to side, like you're dropping your ear down to your shoulder. And there's also a sense of lengthening as you're doing this, even felt maybe through your throat. And then there's that smallest movement of like your chin, how you could drop your chin down slightly as you do this, or you might kind of lift your chin up slightly. And it just kind of changes the kind of the stretch here. And then also we're going to just drop the arms down. And then when you drop your head to one side, like that opposite arm starts to reach out slightly right through your fingers. And so we really start to feel into the body all these, sometimes it's called lines of energy, like, kind of opening up through this kind of armpit chest area, even. And it's just this little, you can let this be really organic, like however, whatever it kind of starts to turn into, but make sure you're not getting tight. Okay, that's an important factor, whether we're meditating and just like noticing the movement of the mind and the thoughts, or if we're moving the physical body, that there's a feeling of being free of tension. Good. And then we're just going to let this go. We're just going to release, go ahead and release your seated pose. And we're going to move right onto the back side. So go ahead and recline. When you lay down here, take your arms and legs straight up into the air. Lengthen your back and then just circle your hands and your feet around here. Just let them move. Breathe. It's a good way to get this. You could imagine in your spine that your spine is really open. Even inside of your spine is your spinal cord. So the spinal cord is free. Like it's not being pinched at all the way up where it connects to your brain. Take your arms and legs way out to the side. Reach them way out. Keep the arms straight, the legs straight. And really keep the airways open here, free flowing. And then as you bring everything back together, now the arms are going to start to reach up over your head about halfway down. And then the legs are going to start to lower about at the most halfway down. Ah, yeah, nice and strong. And then bring everything back together and then go wide apart again. Just do one more each side. Ah, way out to the side and then coming together. And then legs start to lower down, arms start to reach above your head. Really keep the arms like in their sockets, keep the legs in their sockets. So firm. Good. And then just hug your right knee into your chest here and then lower your left leg all the way down. Breathe. Feel this lengthening through your left leg, almost to where your left thigh is really pushing down to the floor. And when you do that, you'll probably feel that arch of your lower back. Go ahead and switch so there's actual pressure or weight bearing on your sacrum. Switch sides. Breathe. Feel this is a great place. Just the mind actually gets quiet so you can feel. And then as you switch, rather than bringing your right knee directly into your chest, let it open out to the side. You might even just kind of hold with your right hand, like you're drawing your right knee up towards your armpit. And then switch. And just, kind of play with this, keeping your throat very relaxed. The mind, heart, just spacious, open. Even, what you could describe almost like a loving presence. I know, it's a big word. But what would that be like? It might even just have like a lighthearted quality of, like you suddenly notice, like, this is really good. This is just, this is going to, I do believe this is going to lead to just a sense of being healthy, being alive and present. The breath really moving through the body, kind of purifying. Yeah, this feels like this is in the direction of supporting all my systems. My digestive system, my respiratory system, circulatory system, my lymphatic system. Like, this is really beneficial. Good. And then as you let this go, just take both feet down onto the mat of your head and notice how the chest, like it just, so we're aiming for like just nice open chest here. So take your arms wherever you want. You might end up with palms up, okay? And shoulders can really relax down here. So you're quite wide across your chest. Actually ground your shoulders, push into your feet and lift your butt up away from the floor slightly. But as you do that, keep the neck and the throat really soft, and then go ahead and just lower back down. So just let this kind of move through the spine here, lifting the pelvis up a little bit, and then you just roll back down. And this starts to activate pretty much, muscles that we just don't use a lot. These back body muscles. In a way, this is the absolute opposite of like sitting in a chair. Now we're really contracting around the backs of the legs, your buttock muscles, back muscles, and there's like no flexion in the hips. Nice, steady, full breath. Just explore this waking up. When you're lifting your butt up, well, a couple things. You're really lifting your tailbone. So Make sure you have space. Take your feet a little wider apart so it feels like you have space to lift your tailbone up. And just make sure you are not holding your breath. You're not crushing your throat. Just kind of an easy fluid. Yes, it's important for this repetition because at first, this can really feel like, it might almost even hurt because we just don't do this a lot. So that's when we really get curious about how can I just stay with this movement? And it's just right. This is called yoga, when really sensitive, but noticing like the body kind of is thirsting to do this work. So let it move. Let it work. Good. Now, next time you lower down, you'll just lift your feet up, take the arms out to the side. I feel like I just want to go right into our twist. So legs stay together like they're glued together. And as you drop your knees towards the right side, you lift your left buttock up, but your left shoulder stays grounded down. Go to the other side. Legs drop to the left. You're lifting your right buttock, right shoulder down. Okay, and then as you go back and forth, this one can be good. Even close your eyes, breathe. Really feel the twisting action in your spine that you're starting to awaken while staying actually like the mind, calm, cool, collected, feeling. And how you can keep like your lips really soft the whole time. I mean, it can just feel almost like your whole presence is just open-hearted, free of needing things to be any different than they are. Yeah, so that's no small experience. Roll over to one side, bring yourself up. And as you come up, let's go ahead and move right onto all fours and actually right into downward facing dog. And we'll do that little back and forth where we go from down dog to plank pose. So this is like, really give yourself time to notice how the body feels today. You possibly close your eyes as you do this because we can really learn, like when the mind visually sees something, it so quickly wants it to fix it. Like you're doing yoga and you notice like, oh, my fingernails need clipping, or just any number of things, right? So you could close your eyes. You could also practice looking at your fingernails and going, oh, well, this is how it is now. And just letting the observation about your fingernails arise and pass. Very lightly, your knees touch down. And you're actually going to fold your mat. So I'm doing this because I am on a pretty hard surface. And these layers of mat now are going to bring a little more cushion under my knees, okay? Because you're going to come up. Now, the moment you come up here, you might notice the effort that I really want to practice being upright here. So I have to like really lift up, lift my navel, I kind of drop my tailbone, and you're going to reach your arms up, interlace your fingers, and just reach your palms up here. So really get that feeling of lengthening and navel in. There's that little contracting. And then take your right foot and step forward here. So now your weight, this is actually a really good pose to practice before you do a tree pose, because you actually really activate these outer hip muscles that keep this hip stable while you balance. So let's actually take arms out to the side for a moment. Draw your shoulder blades on your back and lift your navel. So here, we're not like dropping or sinking down in that left hip. You're pulling it in. Notice that action of pulling in. And just get taller. You might reach your arms back up again. Get taller through the very crown of your head. Take your right hand onto your right thigh, and then take the whole left side of the body into a very slight side stretch. Lateral stretch, like you're lifting your left ribs. Your navel pulls up, up, up. Keep the breath flowing. Even all the way, you're sensing that spaciousness as you're breathing. Good, let's release this, letting go. The right knee comes back down, and then that left foot forward, okay? So at first, just feel like you're not leaning forward onto your left foot. You're really balancing on your right leg, waking up those muscles so you are in no way like sinking down into your right hip, really lifting up. Get a sense of that straight up, those muscles. Reach your arms up, interlace fingers, palms up here. Lift, but staying grounded so you're not tipping. Arms now go to the side. Just breathe, get really tall. And then take left hand on left thigh, reach your right arm up, and then get that little side stretch. You're lifting the right ribs up, all the way up. Breathe, even the side of your waistband stretching. And even closer, even right near your spine is stretching. This is a good one for your psoas muscle. Good. And then as you let go here, left knee down. Let's unfold the mat if your mat was folded. And then move right back to downward facing dog. Okay, so here in your down dog, just keep your heels a little bit lifted, feet fairly close together, and then just reach your right leg up. And as it reaches up, allow that rotation where you're actually lifting your right hip and you're rotating the pelvis like your navel is looking to the right. Reach strong back through that back right heel. Now, this is actually rotation in your bottom left hip. So can you sense that? Like the more you actually twist and rotate open to the right, it's that left hip that is doing the rotation. So bring the right foot down. Take your knees lightly down. Just touch. You're on all fours. Move to a brief little cat and cow here. Notice that not only like the bendiness that you're waking up here, but actually the strength. So when you're going into cow, how you're contracting your upper back to reach your chest forward. And then as you go to cat pose, how you're contracting around your navel to pull up. Right? One more. Reach your chest forward in your cow. And then that navel pulling up when you go to your cat. Really contract. Good. Now back to down dog. We'll play with that left side. So here, basically, there's no rotation in your hips, but right hip. So when you reach your left leg back, and then as you open that left hip, as you lift it up, and like your navel is looking to the left, it's that deep in that right hip is starting to rotate. Reach back strong through that left heel. And then lightly down. This time, just walk your feet forward. And as you come up to standing, you just push into your feet. You reach your arms all the way up. Big, big inhale. And then let's just fold over here. It's like we have to just do these really basic movements, but they so involves like your whole body here. So pay attention. Inhale up, exhale all the way over. And quite simply, we're just giving the body time and space. There's nothing to figure out. Rather, just experience, like as you feel your feet, that it's naturally going to quiet the mind. So one aspect of mindfulness is, when we're thinking about what is mindfulness? When am I being mindful and when am I not being mindful? Well, one characteristic of mindfulness is that you are completely free of judging, comparing. So this can actually be practiced and cultivated. So as I do this movement, could I be free of judging or comparing? Free of analyzing? Now we are being, really sensitive by feeling the body and then responding, and that's how we make decisions. Next time you come up, you're going to stay up. All right, so let's take the arms down. And let's go and maybe touch something. I'm going to touch this chair, little teeny touch point, to just go through those little elements of tree pose, okay? So you're balancing your right leg, and you're going to just lift your left knee up. Now here's that same thing in the right hip. So I'm not going to just sink down. So that's what we're paying attention to, pulling that right hip in, the lifting, and then open that left knee out to the side without like rotating your whole body. It's just the left thigh. And then placing your left foot. Now, as I place my left foot, like I'm going to place it on the inner thigh, I don't want to then push my thigh out to the side, right? So I'm doing that kind of counteraction. So the left foot and the thigh are really like pushing against each other. And that draws the whole, like this energy into center. Like it just kind of naturally, like whoop, right into center. And all of a sudden, like, oh, I don't need to touch my chair anymore. Because those energetic forces are making it less likely for me to tip. You could take your arms like wherever you want. So I like that lifting up because it does get that like lift up through my whole chest and rib cage. Kind of opens that space. Firm joints. So light heart, the actual heart center is lifted up as you let go of this. So that remains lifted. So when you're back in just standing, there's that light heart, light throat. Switch sides. So you could even look at your left foot and lift your right knee up. So when you're lifting your knee up, make sure you don't suddenly collapse through your left leg or your hip, right? Lift up. Open that right thigh, open to the right. And then that right foot. Placing, but really feel those two. The inner left leg, even if your foot is on your calf, there's this like drawing together, finding the center line. And as I'm lifting up here, this is, very similar to when we were on our knees on the floor, right? I have that lifting. I don't want to lift my tailbone or really arch my lower back. So what do? I lift up, front hip bones lift. Staying grounded, like if you reach your arms up, we don't want to get too much energy up because then we'll get off balance. So we're firm leg, your tree trunk. Breathing. Can you lift up out of that left hip? And keeping the heart space really light as you let go. So bring the right foot down. And just pause. So now it's like we're really grounded when we're just standing. We've awakened this deep physical integrity. And it's almost just a real natural occurrence that the mind gets quieter. At first, the mind can be really activated when we do these postures because it's just trying to figure it out, right? But then there's the quieting. Okay, let's move up towards the front of the mat. Palms together. Tall. Oh, there's that same energy. It's almost like I'm in tree pose. Arms come up. Move to your forward bend. Feel, feel, feel. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Back to your down dog. Fluffing out your ribs here. moving to plank. In your own way, lower down. So our back bend will just be 3 options. I love teaching this way because you really get to let your body decide. Cobra, and make sure you're not just like taking the easy road. You're really clear. I came here to do some work. Lengthen and lift your legs. Breathe. Reach your arms back. Doing the pose, but really free of tension. So the mind now actually calms. You get quieter. And you move back to down dog. Really sharp angle in down dog. Walk forward. Come all the way up. Push down. Reach up. And then take palms together in front of the heart. Pause. I just kind of quiet because this pose, when we're in a pose that doesn't require a lot of figuring out, it's good to just move into a quiet place. So we're going to just briefly, I want to just sit on the floor for a moment. And that when you come down to the floor, legs are like a little bit wide apart. And take your hands like right up to the very tops of your thighs. And like right at the very center of your thighs, kind of press down there and just feel like right top, very top of your thighs, right near your hip crease, pressing down. So that's right at the very top of your femur bones, pressing down. Now take your hands down, straighten your legs. And now just using your leg and hip strength, press that spot, press it down. Now, in order to do that, you probably engage your quads have to contract. I mean, it's so interesting because like if I relax my quads, I visually, probably to you, I don't look very different. But when I really contract and press my thighs down, what happens is I use that term to sharpen that angle in your hips. So all of a sudden my hip flexion, because all these hip flexors are working, that the thighs press down and then I lift up through my spine. And again, if I relax that, it doesn't look very different. So practice, like not really doing the work and then doing it. Press the thighs down, lift, and might even get that real energy going up through your spine. Keeping the throat really soft. You don't have to intensify, like around your breath. Good, because we're going to do this in down dog. This is precisely what you do in down dog when you push your thighs back and then you get that like length around your lower back. Okay? So come back up to standing. Those thigh muscles you were just working. There's no flexion in your hips right here. Yeah, just notice that. You're actually quite upright. Take palms together in front of the heart. And then just sweep your arms up. Now, when you move into forward bend here, this is deep hip flexion, but mostly it's just gravity.
This gravity is taking the body and the hips into this deep hip flexion. You're probably not really working your hip flexors. But now, when you move back to down dog, let's do that very same thing where the tops of your thighs are pressing back. You might lift your heels up here. So you're not pushing your knees back. I mean, you could. What does it feel like when you push your knees back? So rather, lift or the very tops of your thighs press back. And notice that might really lengthen your waistband area, or your pelvis like pulls back away from your ribs. Now, take your feet a little closer together. Lift your right leg up, but don't rotate. Don't lift and open and rotate. Just reach your leg back. Now, you might want to move your left toes back a little bit because we're going to go to plank. This is just an option. But I'm hovering my right leg, okay? Navel lifting. And then you could even practice if you want to, keep the right leg kind of hovering here as you lower all the way down. Legs going back. We're going to move right into our back bends. Cobra. Feel the breath. Feel the whole spine all the way up to your brain. Not all crunched up. Like there's a flow, spaciousness. Lengthen, lift your legs. Now, this is, the backs of the legs are really working. Arms reach back. Reach right back through your fingers. Free breath. Don't hold your breath. Good. Now, you're going back to down dog. Your same idea, the tops of the thighs press back. And it matters. Like if you lift your heels up, it might feel like, oh, it's a little easier to do that. When you reach your heels down, it's going to stretch the backs of the legs even more. So, feet a little closer together. We're going to go right into left leg lifting, reaching back. So your right toes, right foot might move back a little bit so you can lengthen into your plank pose. That left leg hovering. Again, you can bring your left foot down. And then just lower right down onto the floor, kind of light. Legs go back. Cobra. Wide, kind of extra wide across your chest. Draw your elbows in. That grounding of the pubic bone, the feeling like, that creates a little more space. Lengthen, lift your legs, reach back for your toes, and then the arms reach back. Moving back to downward facing dog. Lift up. Thighs back. And then walk forward towards your hands. Come right up, standing, all the way up. Bring your arms up. Grounding, just look straight forward. Palms together in front of the heart. So you might notice like what's happening to any of your visual distractions today. I mentioned the fingernails, but it's so good to
Notice if there's something in the room, that keeps catching your eye and like, that thing, and actually practice, like looking at it and just seeing it without the drama, without the tension, the overreacting. It's really good practice, especially to do this just with maybe an inanimate object. So that, even around different people, we don't have to get triggered. So we are going to go over to a wall, okay? A wall space. I mean, I could actually even, possibly use like a chair if you want a chair. So I'm just going to show what we're going to do. And this one, you could use a block or you don't have to use a block. I think it was last time I taught, was it 2 weeks ago? We did balancing half moon, but you can do balancing half moon using like just a little bit of a touch support. I'm going to do this without the block first. So all this looks like is that your right hip is near a wall, a chair, or something, but you do have space to go into a forward bend, to bring your hands down, even if you bend your knees, and then reach your left leg back. Now, the moment you reach your left leg back, well, you want space to do that, your right hip might touch the wall, okay? And that's okay. Just don't lean on the wall. Now, you're going to take your left hand up to your hip and even lift your right hand away from the floor. Ooh. You could use a block to place your bottom right hand on the block, or invisible block, we could call it. Straight standing leg. Reach left leg back. And then just come all the way up. So through the whole sequence, we're playing with that balancing leg really being our girder. Let's just play with the other side, okay? So I have my left hip in kind of almost near a windowsill here. So when you go just to a forward bend, your fingers might touch the floor. And yes, you can use a block, even some kind of a stool or something. So you're going to balance on your left leg. Your right leg starts to reach back. And you're going to start to straighten that standing leg. And you might lift that bottom hand. So we're practicing like invisible block. Or maybe reach down and touch the floor. And just play with both legs, really straightening, lengthening out here. And come up. So take a moment. If you want to gather any prop, we're just going to do one more each side, playing with that. So with my right hip facing the wall again, well, let's do this. Here's a one little interim practice here. Balance on your right leg, standing upright, and then just reach your left leg back. And then reach your right hand towards the floor. Left hand can stay on the hip. So this is a very moderate balancing half moon, right? I could kind of come upright, we could understand like the mechanics of this. And I'm definitely using my wall a little bit. But lots of deep strength in my standing leg. Lift your navel in. Notice how that helps. When you lift your navel, it pulls up through that standing leg. Okay? Like maybe you have a block down there you want to work with. You want to play with touching the floor. and coming up. Yeah, and how you can do this kind of small. When you're going into the tilting, standing leg is straight, open up. You could play with both arms reaching out to the sides. Okay, and come up. That's a good one. Even the smallest little experience of that pose where we're not touching the block, we're not way down there, we're staying up. So you actually start with that left outer hip on the wall. So notice when you reach your right leg back, the weight change, and you might shift your bottom foot. And as you reach back, you let this bottom hand start to drop down. I'm going to keep my right hand on my hip at first. So allow that left hip to have the light touch on the wall, very light, or it might feel like left buttock. And pause, like just a little tilt over, lengthening both legs, and then come up. And play with moving in and out of this with a really small, navel in. I don't want to arch my back. Use that wall as reference. So good. This is like rotating in the hips, but also strengthening the bottom leg with the weight bearing. Maybe both arms reach. That's kind of a fun one too, to just feel that nice and wide across your chest. Don't get too pushy. Good, and then pause. So as we come back to the mat, move towards the front, and let's just keep the right foot forward. So I'm really sensing like this work around the outer hips, the sides of the body that we just did to really hold that pose. So right foot forward, take your left foot back into your crescent pose. And let's actually practice just the real stability of this. So arms come up, open, and then arms just come down. Arms coming up. So you're going to practice moving like in and out of this. But really stable. If it feels like you would rather be in warrior one, like if you want that back foot down, you could do that. So that, again, that's called yoga. If you are very honest and you notice like a certain pose is not a good idea for your body. But we're just letting this be really fluid, but stable and grounded. The eyes are calm. Good. And then just briefly, right where you are, we're still in this crescent. The right hand comes down to the thigh and take that little side stretch again. So you like lift just slightly, lift your left ribs. And this again gets into not only psoas, but really into psoas now because the left leg is back in extension. So again, that deep stretch across that left hip, lower back. And releasing, the back foot can step forward. So let's move into crescent on that other side. Left foot forward, right foot back. Pause. Grounding, find your footing. As you're ready, you're just playing with arms coming up, and you almost get more stable when you lift up. Arms coming down, and just play with, yes, I can move my arms, and just stay really stable. Even the breath, just lots of space. And then that left hand stays on the left thigh, just the right arm comes up, and really lift your right ribs. This is a good one. Like, you don't need to really push your right shoulder up. We don't need that tension in the neck. It's really like a lot of space also through the neck and the throat. Breathe. Just feel navel lifting here. Like stretch to that right side. Release. Back foot stepping forward. And then let's take the feet kind of a little bit wider apart. Put your toes out, and then just do a reaching side to side. So you're just letting it really rotate now through like your whole chest, ribs, like getting this rotation. Your feet are grounding. Definite lightness around the heart, the throat. So it's like you're relieving any congestion, through your armpit area. Sides of the ribs. Such a good movement to stay with. Good. And then as you pause, just take the feet now to parallel to your wide legs. Move to a wide-legged forward bend. You could lift your chest and then just hinge over here, all the way over. You can really drop your head, let it just dangle there. Such a good pose, just to stay in. Even, lift your toes, kind of wiggle and open the soles of your feet. Like you're just lifting energy up through your legs. And then do that little bend of right knee. Drop your head. And then switch, little bend of left knee. Now do this back and forth while your whole spine is just draping over. Feel, this is just good, this inversion through your whole abdomen, your chest, your whole neck, head. So good, just for deep cleansing. Good. Coming up, just push down, come all the way up. Take your feet closer. Stand in mountain pose and practice looking forward so that your eyes are open. You're taking in everything around you, just visual and practicing non-distraction. So keep the eyes kind of glued in one position. Even a little smile. And then notice this felt kind of feeling tone, like the quality of your heart right now. What's your attitude? What vibration are you emitting? And how you can choose too. Like, could you bring in kind of a positive vibe? And this is a beautiful gift to give yourself. I'm free of judging and comparing and over analyzing. How to feel deeply. Like, notice all these details. The mind is clear and free. As you relax your shoulders down a little bit, but get taller. Good. And then just let yourself now lower down onto the floor, cross-legged position. Actually, let's do a couple different variations. So take the legs just wide apart here, possibly lean back a little bit, and do that action we were doing with thighs pressing down, lift straight up through your spine. As best you can, like really doing that, and then maybe like a little hinge forward. Keep reaching, legs nice and long, the thighs grounding. Make sure, like, you don't want to really poke your chin forward here. Rather, it's like your heart is reaching forward. Neck is nice and long. Let this just fold forward. And come up. And then we actually externally, now we do let the legs externally rotate, like the toes point out. And then take the soles of the feet together. So this is Baddha Konasana. Noticing how these feel. So, you can always shift and do that slightly different pose here. Maybe keep your legs long. So we could start with the hands behind, all like a slight leaning back. We need this front of the body really nice and open. Kind of lift up out of your hips. And then maybe a little more upright, and possibly even you start to reach the chest forward, where you start to fold forward. But yeah, it's easy to give the instruction, but the main instruction is to do yoga. Like, if there's a place in your body that's just screaming right now, you stop. You stop and you listen. Like, oh, I'm going to back off a little bit. And that's that little, I call it like the dance of yoga, where we put forth effort. Like, yes, I'm moving into the pose. But, like, oh, That's too far, like this is now I'm going down the wrong road. And then we back off. So there's kind of that sweet spot where I'm clearly really experiencing the pose, but the body can open and be free. Like all these beautiful qualities arise, right? Patience, compassion, the effort, it's like, yes, there's effort that leads to this connected state. Now, moving into a cross-legged position. Just think, yeah, slightly different positions for your joints, your bones. Move to your forward bend. Walk your fingers forward. So I'm actually up on my fingertips, walking forward. Heart reaching forward. So it's like your whole spine is kind of pulling into your body. Coming up. Now, I'm just going to demonstrate. One of my favorite variations of that, what you just did, is using a block. It's interesting. So if I have this height of the block, now I'm going to go off to the side. Okay, it's just it's a support. It's like a little bit easier to go into this and feel, breathe. And then you come up and you go to the other side. You just let the block slide. Notice it kind of goes like wherever is just right. And once we don't want to get like, oh my gosh, it's too far. You back off a little bit. Yoga, like we just want to keep yoga in mind. Am I connected? I mean, we all know that pitfall of comparing yourself to the teacher. And I have not mastered these poses, but it's just so easy. I mean, sometimes you're doing the pose better than me. I'm pretty sure my pose is better than Nancy's. And we want to free ourselves of that. Come on up. And it's a moment to moment thing. One moment, we're free. The next moment, we're on that slippery slope, right? Of the mind is judging. Or it's just somewhere else. Let's go ahead and recline. We'll just do our one little Shavasana preparation where the arms are out to the sides, the knees are bent, and your feet actually go really quite wide apart here. But when you drop your knees to one side, let your feet, like notice where your feet are. And in your own way, like move your feet slightly. So there's a sense of space. Breathe here. And then just go to the other side. Let the knees go up and over. Make sure, like, we're moving our legs, but make sure, like, the arms, the head, they can really do nothing. Do this back and forth, and with great attention, like how fast you want to move.
Just gonna breathe, relax. Like notice your shoulders, your whole upper back around your shoulder blades. I mean, it really doesn't have to do anything. Your belly is really soft. And then let yourself move, transition to Shavasana. And be clear. It's like you could lay in Shavasana and just start thinking. So we practice wholeheartedly. Shavasana can be one of the easiest poses for the mind to just check out because, you're physically not doing anything. And that's when the mind goes looking for entertainment. It's like caution. The mind will not want to do this pose. It feels good for the body in Shavasana, but we're really balancing this quality of being relaxed and alert. So when you close your eyes in Shavasana, there's this, like really feel the body. If there's any last little movement, adjusting so that you can completely let go. The key areas, be aware of like your lower back. Well, actually, first, if there's a specific area that's sensitive or you're working with pain, that's the first area, right? That you want to get positioned just right. And then just typically like lower back, hips, and then your neck and your shoulders, like just right through that whole neck space. And just feeling that. And then how the arms, let them just drop down to the side. When you drop your arms down, you might notice that when you lay down and go to sleep at night, you probably don't just lay your arms out to the side, right? Notice that. Like that's really open through your arms and your chest. It's actually quite almost like vulnerable. We allow this open quality around the chest and the heart. Notice that you're breathing now. Let's get quieter. Now the yoga begins. One kind of reliable body scan is going through these areas that are called the chakras. So let's start at the very base of your spine. Like imagine the space around your tailbone. Even the whole floor of your pelvis or your hip sockets. So be aware of that space, almost like it's just melting, releasing. Your legs might drop.
And then bring awareness kind of lifting up to just the center of your pelvic bowl. You're just there, the center of your pelvis. Sometimes our awareness we could imagine like a light, like that area is illuminated. Whole pelvis. And then you bring awareness up around the navel area, more of the belly space, and all of the organs. Really like this kind of soft glow, kind of radiance, radiant health. This space is free of tension. And then bringing awareness still a little higher around the space of your whole chest, your heart, whole space inside of your ribs. You can imagine that area just radiant, glowing. Ah. Remember, we're practicing being free of any judging, comparing. Move awareness now up to your throat, to the throat space, or the sense of your whole neck. This is awareness, where you're noticing how does this space feel, and what happens when you bring your full attention here. And let awareness now move up the space in the center of your skull, or like around your forehead, possibly back of your head. If your head is resting on the floor, just feel that release. And then the very crown of your head, it's top of the head. You might imagine just all like from the tailbone, just all the way up through the body. We kind of purify these spaces just by being aware and being fully present. So when we transition, as you feel ready to move and come up to seated pose, you might, like the mind might be really naturally kind of reflective, where we're really noticing, kind of sensitive to our own presence. Like, what am I bringing into the world? And that without any words at all, we can have like just an open hearted quality. We don't have like any agenda or really tightly held opinions. And we're willing to keep growing and learning. Let's take palms together in front of the heart. And may this open hearted quality benefit everyone, kind of how this quality, other hearts are drawn to it, feel safe around us, that they won't be judged. This is a very powerful quality that's worthy of developing. Let's close with the sound of Om. Take a deep inhale. With deep gratitude for these teachings and all beings that are apprentices. We're just doing our best to deeply listen and receive the teachings and let it affect our lives. This isn't about, now I need to be perfect at all. And that's like one of the first things we can learn, right? Like, yeah, this is kind of being part of this messy world. So I'll just put forth the reminder that this class, this whole experience, is thanks to Common Ground Meditation Center. And if you want to support Common Ground and support me, that's part of what we call Dana, which is a freely giving and freely receiving. So we just keep offering classes and these teachings is continually. And then if you want to, that there's that freely giving back to support us so we can continue freely giving. It's really a beautiful process and it's amazing over all these years that it we're thriving, So whatever feels right for you, it is usually really natural to have like, I really want to give back. And then people will really vary a lot of like what works to give back. And you just give your heart's desire, just kind of let the heart decide on what works. So you can do that by going just the Common Ground website, and it's pretty easy to navigate like how to support the center. I mean, it'll show you too. You can always send a check in the mail if you don't do like online donating and stuff like that. Have a beautiful rest of your day. I can't wait to see you again. Bye, everyone.